Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the coolest ventures, brightest founders, and exciting things happening in the Nordics. In this episode, our venture date is with Volare, refining food waste for a circular future.
Okay, let's dive in. We all feel it, right? This constant barrage of news about climate change, resources running low, how we're going to feed everyone. It can honestly feel like you're drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
Overwhelming information.
Absolutely. Especially when you try to boil it down to something as basic as food.
Yeah, exactly. How do we actually produce enough protein for, billions more people? We're already farming on half the planet's usable land, and they say demand's going to double in just, a few decades. Our current system feels pretty strained, maybe even broken.
It really does. And all the complex data points like, waste figures, land use stats, emission numbers, it makes it so hard to see a clear way forward, let alone figure out which solutions are genuinely going to move the needle.
That's precisely why we're doing this deep dive, using the material you shared with us. We want to cut through some of that noise, focus on one specific and frankly really fascinating approach that tackles these massive problems head on. It's all about finding a radically efficient way to keep nutrients in the food chain, stop all this waste, and actually achieve, true circularity.
Yeah.
And the key player, the sort of unexpected hero here, a natural bioreactor.
Yeah.
The black soldier fly.
Ah, the BSF. Yeah, what's really interesting there is the mindset shift it represents. It's not just getting rid of waste. It's about harnessing a natural process to actively transform that waste into genuinely high-value resources.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. Unpack how this whole thing works, figure out the specific problems it's solving, look at the actual products it creates, and understand its potential impact. And we're sticking just to the information provided.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Right, so let's start by really framing the problem, the context here. You mentioned that land use challenged half of arable land already tied up in food production?
Yeah, it's a stark figure. And then you layer on top that projection global protein demand doubling by 2050. We'll need even more food. That 50% starts to feel like a pretty hard ceiling we're bumping up against. The information makes it pretty clear. Our traditional ways of producing protein, they just won't scale sustainably to meet that kind of demand. It points to a fundamental limit in the current global food system.
So, okay, if the system's hitting its limits, what's the proposed fix in the material we looked at? This idea of refining food industry side streams seems pretty central.
That's definitely the core strategy presented. It's framed as creating a high-value refining platform. Think of it like building these specialized facilities designed specifically to process the organic byproducts, the leftovers, the stuff generated by food manufacturing.
So instead of that material just being, waste,
Yeah.
it actually becomes the raw material, the input for something new.
Precisely. The goal they state is zero waste from these particular side streams, achieving real circularity where those nutrients get captured and put back to use. And strategically, the plan involves building these plants right next door to the food manufacturers.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
Well, it's about processing those huge volumes of side streams as efficiently and economically as possible, integrating directly into the existing industrial setup, minimizing transport, things like that.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so the input is this massive stream of currently underused food industry leftovers.
Yeah.
But what's the engine? What actually does the transformation? This is where the black soldier fly comes in, isn't it? The natural bioreactor.
Yes, absolutely. The BSF, the black soldier fly, is positioned in the material as the absolute heart of this process. It's described as this ultra-efficient natural system for converting that organic matter and getting those locked-up nutrients back into the supply chain.
Honestly, my first thought is just flies. Not exactly glamorous, right? But the more you look at the details provided, the more you get why this specific insect was chosen. It's kind of amazing.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, out of millions of insect species, the BSF is singled out. Why? Because it's apparently one of the most efficient converters of organic biomass out there. It's exceptionally good at upcycling nutrients.
Upcycling, I like that term.
Yeah, and the material highlights some incredible capabilities. Like, they have this huge range of enzymes, apparently, which means they can break down really complex food waste much more effectively than, say, other types of flies.
And the speed they mention, it's almost hard to believe. Increasing their body weight 10,000 times in just a couple of weeks.
I know. It's an explosive rate of growth of creating biomass.
Wow.
And the main feeding and growth stage where all this rapid conversion happens, it's remarkably short in this process. Only about a week of their life cycle is dedicated to that intense growth.
Grab a week.
Just about. Plus, and this is critical for using them this way, they aren't like common houseflies. They don't spread disease or contaminants in their natural environment. That makes them suitable for processing materials that are, close to the food chain.
Okay, so it's taking this incredibly efficient natural biological engine
Yeah.
and then building the industrial tech around it to manage it safely and consistently, but on a massive scale.
That's exactly it. Harnessing nature's own toolkit, but then amplifying it with technology to create a process that's reliable, scalable, and safe for industrial use.
Right. Okay, let's walk through the process flow then. We start with these food industry side streams. And the potential scale here is just enormous. The information mentioned an estimate of 90 million tons a year in the EU alone.
Yeah, that number really hits home, doesn't it? It underlines the scale of the waste problem, but also the sheer size of the opportunity.
Definitely. So these side streams are fed into the facilities.
And the BSF larvae consume this material. They eat it, they grow really fast, and as they grow, they naturally accumulate valuable protein and fat within their bodies.
So the output isn't just treated waste, it's actual resource creation.
Yeah.
You get protein, you get oil. And didn't the material mention a third output too?
It did, yes. The leftover material, sort of like the insect manure or frass, after the larvae have done their work, that becomes a valuable organic fertilizer ingredient.
Oh.
And here's a really crucial point for the whole circularity angle. The process is designed so it creates no new side streams. Everything that goes in gets transformed into one of these three high-quality, sellable products.
No new side streams. That feels, well, really significant. It's not just reducing waste. It's basically eliminating it from this specific pathway.
Exactly. Pure upcycling in action.
Okay, let's break down these products then. What makes this protein meal, this oil, and this fertilizer so valuable? And they kept mentioning they're drop-in ready. What does that actually mean in practice?
Yeah, drop-in ready is key. It speaks directly to how easily companies can adopt these new ingredients. It basically means they're designed to slot right into existing manufacturing processes, existing supply chains, without needing, major new equipment or big changes.
Makes adoption much easier, I guess.
Precisely. So let's start with the protein meal.
Okay, what are its standout qualities, according to the info?
It's highlighted as being highly digestible and palatable, really important for animal feeds, obviously. It also boasts a balanced amino acid profile and is apparently good for animal gut health.
And practical stuff. Handling it.
Yeah, practically it's described as easy to handle, flows well, doesn't cake up, good for extrusion processes, it's dry, easy to store, ticks a lot of boxes for feed manufacturers.
And the applications listed were things like aquafeeds, pet foods, feeds for egg-laying hens.
Yes. And think about the context there. Aquaculture, fish farming, is facing this huge projected protein deficit, maybe 30 to 40 million tons needed by 2030. This BSF protein meal is positioned as a direct, sustainable way to help fill that gap. And for pet food, it's not just about sustainability, zero harm to rainforests or oceans, unlike some traditional protein sources. It also offers a novel, highly digestible protein. That could be really helpful with the rising issue of pet allergies to common ingredients like chicken or beef.
Oh, interesting point about allergies. So taste efficient, sustainable.
That's exactly a genuine alternative.
Okay, so that's the protein meal covering big needs in animal nutrition. What about the oil? What's special there?
The big headline for the oil is its naturally high lauric acid content.
Lauric acid. Why is that important?
Well, lauric acid is a specific type of fatty acid. It's what gives oils like palm kernel oil and coconut oil their key functional properties. It's used in a really wide range of applications.
Ah, so this BSF oil provides a sustainable, maybe locally produced alternative to something like palm kernel oil, which, let's be honest, often comes with significant environmental baggage like deforestation issues.
That's exactly the angle. It offers that same critical component, lauric acid, but without the associated environmental cost. Like the protein, it's also mentioned as supporting gut health in animal feeds and pet foods.
But it goes beyond feed too, right?
Oh, yeah. Its usefulness extends into non-food areas. Things like washing and cleaning products, hydrophobic agents, surfactants. Basically, anywhere lauric acid is needed as an ingredient, this is presented as a truly sustainable, easy-to-integrate alternative, a drop-in replacement.
Got it. Okay, and the third product, The organic fertilizer ingredient.
Right, the frass. This material is described as a perfect source of the main plant nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. That makes it ideal for organic farming.
And anything else notable about it?
What's also pretty significant is its composition. It's apparently high in carbon, around 50%. That makes it excellent for carbon sequestration, locking carbon into the soil, which is inherently climate friendly.
And practical qualities. Easy to use.
It seems so. Low moisture content, good pelletization properties, meaning it can be formed into pellets easily. That makes it simple to handle and apply for farmers. The information also specifically notes its potential to replace peat in things like garden soils and greenhouse growing media.
Peat replacement is a big plus for sustainability, too.
Definitely. Helping lower the carbon footprint in horticulture as well.
So these really aren't just like basic byproducts. They sound like carefully developed, high-quality ingredients designed to meet specific market needs and hit environmental targets.
That's exactly the picture painted, which naturally leads us into the broader impact discussed in the material. The ambition level is clearly very high, a radical reduction of environmental burden.
Yeah, that stated goal is huge, helping avoid 3 million tons of CO2 equivalent emissions annually by 2035. That's a massive number to aim for.
It is, and the material breaks down how they get there. It's partly through the sheer efficiency of the BSF process itself, and partly by displacing less sustainable products currently used.
How about energy use?
On energy, the plants are designed to use significantly less than competitors. The figure given is about 30% less, and there's a commitment to using 100% sustainable energy sources to power them.
Okay, and the emission savings compared to, say, other ways of dealing with this organic stuff, those comparisons were really striking.
They really were. Producing their protein and oil obviously has much lower emissions than traditional animal agriculture or soy, but look at how it stacks up against other wheel treatments. The emissions are stated as 122nd of typical biogas production and just 180th of composting.
1/80th of composting. Wow, that's a dramatic difference in the footprint just for managing the side stream itself before you even count the value of the products.
It really highlights how transforming the material this way is fundamentally cleaner than just letting it break down or processing it through more conventional waste routes.
And water use, that's always a critical one.
Huge savings there, too. The process apparently uses minimal water. They quote, 97% less fresh water per kilogram of protein produced compared to soy protein.
97% less than soy.
And get this, 99% less water than needed for the same amount of beef protein.
99% less water than beef per kilo of protein. That single stat just hammers home the resource efficiency, doesn't it?
It really does. And land use tells a similar story. They claim to use only 0.01 square meters per kilogram of protein per year.
Tiny.
Tiny. Compare that to typical soy isolate or poultry meat production that's 99% less land needed. It's about protecting land as the scarce resource it is.
And crucially, the material emphasizes that no harmful chemicals are used in the process. It aligns with a more natural, ecological approach.
Right, and this whole comprehensive approach to sustainability means the process is designed to comply with strict regulations, like the EU's Sustainable Finance Framework. It also directly contributes to 5 specific UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Which ones were those again?
Zero hunger, industry innovation infrastructure, climate action, life below water, and life on land. So it's framed as a solution hitting multiple sustainability challenges at once.
Okay, this whole system didn't just appear overnight, though. The material lays out a pretty clear journey, a progression from an idea to aiming for industrial scale. It started as research, right? Back around 2014.
Yes, originating from research within a technical center, focusing on harnessing that natural BSF efficiency. Then the period from about 2018 to 2020 seems to have been foundational, really developing the specific tech, running pilots, doing the R&D, securing key patents around their process.
Then things got more concrete around 2021, 2022. Company founded, demo plant running.
Exactly. Founding the company and getting that fully operational demo plant up was crucial. It allowed them to actually start serving initial customers and, importantly, conduct real industrial-scale testing and validation.
So the demo plant proved the concept works at a decent scale, paving the way for the big jump.
Right. And the last couple of years, around 2023, 2024, have been focused on preparing for that jump to true industrial scale. Securing the customer agreements for the output of the first big factory, finalizing its detailed engineering designs, that sort of thing.
And looking forward, the timeline really accelerates. The plan is to actually build that first full-scale industrial factory and start the major scale-up around 2025, 2026.
Yep. Followed by even more acceleration around 2027, 2028, starting construction on a second factory, laying plans for more facilities beyond that, all while continuously refining the technology and expanding their patent portfolio.
And the time frame, around 2029, 2030, looks like a major milestone marker, aiming to be a leading platform, a real innovator in this space, and hitting that big target of over 1 million tons of CO2 equivalent emissions avoided cumulatively by then.
Yeah, and what I found particularly exciting about their future vision, looking even further out, is that they don't seem to be limiting themselves just to the current protein, oil, and fertilizer products.
Oh, what else?
They see this BSF platform as potentially much more versatile, like an engine capable of producing ingredients for totally new applications down the line. The material mentions possibilities like medical uses.
Medical, from flies.
Well, from components derived from them, things like chitin and chitosan from the insect exoskeleton, also potentially natural pigments, and even exploring biofuels, perhaps for tricky sectors like aviation.
Biofuels for aviation. Wow.
And all still theoretically using those same initial food industry side streams as the input.
So the side stream goes in, the black soldier fly does its magic, and you get not just food and feed ingredients, but potentially stuff for medicine, materials, maybe even fuel.
Yeah.
It really is a pure upcycling platform.
It's leveraging this incredibly efficient natural process, boosting it with smart technology to tackle some really fundamental resource and environmental problems across multiple industries, starting, logically, with the big bottlenecks in our food system.
Okay, let's try and bring this all back together then.
Yeah.
We've taken the information you shared, and I feel like we've really seen how it details a concrete, scalable plan. It starts with a huge problem, this sort of broken global food system and all its waste.
Mm-hmm.
And the solution hinges on this natural wonder, the black soldier fly, acting as an incredibly efficient bioreactor, supercharged by human-engineered industrial technologies.
Right. And the result isn't waste management. It's the transformation of those food industry side stream stuff that would otherwise be waste into this suite of genuinely valuable drop-in ready products. We've got the high-grade protein meal, the versatile oil, the nutrient-rich organic fertilizer.
And achieving true circularity because the process itself creates no new waste streams.
Exactly.
This deep dive into the material, for me, it really highlights not just an interesting bit of biology, but a properly thought out tech-backed strategy aiming for really significant environmental and economic impact. It kind of shows that solutions to these massive global challenges can sometimes come from really unexpected places, right? Even something as seemingly small as a fly larva.
It absolutely reframes that whole concept of waste, doesn't it? It makes you see it as just a resource that's currently in the wrong place, waiting for the right process to unlock its value.
Yeah, perfectly put. Okay, so here's a thought for you, the listener, to maybe sit with. Given how urgent it is that we find truly sustainable ways to produce resources and eliminate waste, how might embracing and scaling these kinds of natural processes, like the black soldier fly's incredible transformation power, but combining it with our own ingenuity, how might that reshape not just the industries we've talked about today, but maybe our whole relationship with consumption and production in the decades ahead?
Thanks for tuning in. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or your favorite app, and connect with us on LinkedIn for more stories and insights.